זה שיר פשוט, זה שיר קצר, אולי נשמע טיפה מוזר, אבל תדע, כי זו עובדה, שאלוהים אוהב אותך, והוא רואה, והוא שומע.
Well, hello and welcome to the Practical Portion. I'm Charli Brown and I love bringing the Torah portions to you, breaking it down. Let's talk about how we can practically apply this to our lives today. Let's bring in some understanding of what may be meant. And today is going to be kind of part two from last week's Torah portion. We had a double, because we have a holiday, a holy day this week. The reading is Genesis 21 and Numbers 29, 1 through 6. But we're going to go back and finish up Vayelech. Let's finish that up because we did last week. We finished out Nitzavim. And so we're going to go Vayelech, which is chapter 31 in Deuteronomy. And this is an amazing portion. It's so small. It's like literally it is you could memorize this portion. And for me, there were so many great things in here that just, I don't know, they kind of blew me away. It's really super short. It's literally just Deuteronomy 31. And the thing it starts out with, it's even in I use a Tree of Life version. It says chazak, which means be courageous. And we know that we talk about that at the end of we finish out a book, we say chazak, right? We say, be courageous, be bold, be courageous. You know, this life is not for the weak. Can I get an amen from anybody? This life, this walk, this is not for the faint of heart, okay? You got to be brave to do this, right? You got to be brave to do this stuff. You can't just be willy-nilly and just go to and fro. You got to be brave. You got to stand strong, standing for things that the world might think's a little bit crazy. And we're seeing Moshe or Moses. He's in this process. He's actually confirming a covenant. He's confirming this covenant. And I want to say this is contractual speak again, right? This is the language of a contract. We're hearing it again as we're shoring this up. Moshe is going to be speaking this contract again. And we're talking about the Suzerain-Vassal language, which if you remember, way a long time ago, we've talked about the Suzerain, remember, is the stronger party. This would be like a king. This is the person who has these huge expectations on how they're supposed to handle things, how they're supposed to cover and take care of the vassal or that weaker vessel, that weaker party. So I want to read something to you that's straight out of the archives of the Rooted Cafe from Gail Heaton. This is a really great time to tell you again, this book you need to go grab. You need to go get on Amazon and grab it through Ancient Eyes. She has Genesis and she has Exodus out. Leviticus is on the way. Hurry up and get it so you have it going into Genesis in October when we get to start all over again. You want to have this. So volume 1, and what she's going to take you through is the ancient Near East perspective. And I don't want that to scare you to be like, it's too hard for me. It's not too hard. It's actually, she does such a phenomenal job. And I'm going to read an excerpt from this Torah portion. I want to read an excerpt of something that she wrote. This is not in the book. It might be partly, but it's in the Rooted Cafe because she has gone through and she does Parsha points for us. So there's a whole, every single portion has a Parsha point. And then also the help, it's the Haftarah. She also did a teaching on the Haftarah portion from an ancient Near East perspective. Fun, love it. Let's read. Here we go. So she says, Moshe does something interesting. After he finishes writing down the treaty document in Deuteronomy 31:24, he then takes this legal document, he puts it beside the Ark of the Covenant that it may be a witness. That's in verse 26. And in the ancient Near East, it was common for important documents, such as an international treaty that were confirmed by an oath, to be placed beneath the feet of the deity in the sanctuary. The only thing inside of Yahweh's ark were the tablets of testimony. The items placed before Yehovah, we'll say his ark, included the jar of manna Aaron's rod that budded, and now this treaty document of Deuteronomy is added. What this means legally is that this document was a complementary covenant witness, in addition to the 2 tablets of the covenant on which the 10 words were written. Keeping the treaty document next to the Ark of the Covenant indicates that it embodies the principles of the covenant, and it is binding as the Decalogue itself, because it comes from the same divine source. This is amazing, y'all. And it shows that the contents of the Deuteronomy are legally just as binding and just as authoritative as the 10 commandments. When you understand ancient Near East treaties just a little bit, you are in such a better position to defend against those who say that all we have to do is honor the Big 10. Isn't that amazing? Now, if you realize that he says he wrote this all down and then he put it in there, it was the equivalent of saying this is the witness, and this is saying this is just as important. So as we're reading through this, and when you're hearing, and my own belief system was like, okay, well, I don't have to do all these things. He's saying this is just as important. This is legal and it's binding. This is part of the covenant. This is just, I mean, this is amazing. So I want to just take a super quick break before we jump right in, is because I want to show you guys just a quick, it's actually a little commercial break for the Rooted Cafe, because this is one of the things I love about the Rooted Cafe is the ability to go in and grab some things out of the archive, whether it's teachings on a Torah portion, whether it's learning about maybe a covenant, learning about things are over 1,000 hours. Okay, I'll stop, but I'm going to let you guys just watch this. And I wanted to take a minute just to talk to you about something that's really important to me and super dear to my heart. If you've had trouble being overwhelmed about where to find information about the feast, the festivals, how do I walk this out well? How do I pursue Torah the right way in my life? It can be a lot, right? It can be hard. And there's so many resources. Where do you even start? At the Rooted Cafe, we really understand that finding the right teacher and the right resources can be really challenging. And so that's why we've put together the whole Rooted Cafe platform for you with thousands of hours, well, over 1,000 hours of vetted out teachers and resources to help save you time, help save you money, and help guide you on this path of understanding of how to walk this Hebraic life out in your home, your family. You see, we've put together this expert team that has carefully curated a selection of courses from beginner all the way to advanced, and they're tailored for all of your needs, every aspect of your life. You can even study at your own pace. No one is pressuring you. You can have people over to your house to study with you in the comfort of your home, or listen in the car, or while you're taking a walk. Plus, you're surrounded by a community of women just like you, supporting you and helping to answer your questions. Our courses help you to explore the rich Hebraic perspective of the word, and they equip you with knowledge to help you apply this now to your life, to your family, to your community. And if you've ever find yourself just wanting to dive a little bit deeper, our extensive library is right there for you to help satisfy that sometimes unquenchable thirst for knowledge. The Rooted Cafe has been a game changer for so many women that have struggled. Where do I start? And who do I trust? If you've ever felt lost, if you've ever felt overwhelmed in this whole quest to understand feast, festivals, and everything in between, I just want to let you know the Rooted Cafe is here to guide you. I would love for you to join us today and experience the joy of learning and growing with a community of women just like you. This month, if you join with us, it's half off just to check it out. The Rooted Cafe is a place where faith meets community, and I would love to see you in there today. There we go, back. I just had to do this because it means so much to me. Most of you guys know that, as founder of the Rooted Cafe, I, of course, have it's a passion project for me, but there's such an amazing team of 50 women, so many amazing teachers, and won't keep going on there, but it is a great place to do that. So we're going to jump into the portion Shelf Indulgence before I hop back into Vayelech, because here's some books that I think are so amazing that you need to get. We're going to start out with, because we're almost on a new moon, The Biblical New Moon by Keisha Gallagher. This is such a great, it's a Becky book. And again, I will put all of the links in the show notes for you. I'll copy and paste them here in just a minute. But you're going to go through and you're going to see all the months. She's going to go through and give you what they mean. Very, very simple, very, very easy to go through and learn about the new months. So I just want to encourage you guys to get this book. Okay, this one is kind of fun. This has nothing to do with the Torah or with it. This is actually a faith-based book. But y'all know how I feel about this topic with my own book. It's not my weed to pull. This has been such a blessing to me. And Shannon Popkin is actually the author of this book, Control Girl. And she's also wrote another book called Comparison Girl. So it's really fun. It's a fun book. And I've been enjoying it. So I thought I'd share it with you guys today. Of course, if you haven't gotten the Gracie book, we have the new one coming out really quickly here. We're just waiting on it to be released. But Gracie and the Story of Creation, this is a really fun little book for your kids, for your grandkids, nieces, nephews. And then finally, this is one that is new for me this year. It's called 60 Days. I don't know if any of you else have this 60 Days, A Spiritual Guide to High Holidays by Simon Jacobson. This is not Messianic. I believe this is just a Jewish, this is very Jewish, but however, it's beautiful. It says 60 days is really the story each one of our lives as expressed in perhaps the biggest question of all is there is hope after loss. You can rebuild after destruction. Can you really find truth in this corrupt world? It's really, really great. I'm just going to do like we have today. We're on the 27th of Elul. I'm going to show you kind of what it looks like. So it looks like this, 27th of Elul. It's like story time. 27th of Elul, because we're prepping here, right, for High Holy Days. And it talks about compassion as love. And it's beautiful. It's going through this whole talk. It says compassion means transcending your own comfort zone out of love for others. Compassion is love in the purest sense of the word. And the book of Genesis in 18:1-2 relates that shortly after Abraham's circumcision, God appeared to him while he sat recuperating in the grove of Mamre. While he was communing with God, Abraham noticed off in the distance 3 nomads approaching across the desert, and without so much as an excuse me to God, he immediately stood up and ran to greet them and to prepare a meal for them. From this strange incident, we derive the equally strange lesson that welcoming guests is more powerful than welcoming God. Let's keep going, huh? This is in the Talmud. It does not ponder if this was the right thing to do, because clearly Abraham knew without hesitation that this was the right thing to do. But how did Abraham know this? How did he know his actions would not offend God? Abraham knew because Abraham was a holy man. Selfishly, he would have liked to spend more time with God, and he could have asked him a lot of questions, but a holy person doesn't do what's just good for him. He does what's good for reality. He's capable of transcending his personal comfort zones for the greater good and for the love of others. The truth is that when Abraham turned to greet his guest, he didn't turn away from God. He turned away from the one level of God's experience to a higher level of experience with God. This higher level is defined by selflessness, by doing for others. To love God and to love other people is the same thing. Your God of gods has to bring more love to others, and fundamentally, it goes even deeper than that. When you love God, you will love other people more. I mean, doesn't he say, if you don't love, you don't know him, right? Because he is love. And that's the whole point. And ask yourself, do you feel that loving God and loving people is the same thing? Have you been able to apply this in your life? And then it gives you an exercise. Demonstrate your love for your neighbor and your love for God in one perfect act. Recreate day 3 of creation by planting maybe a seed today that will make things grow to a good deed that will have perpetual effects. It continues on to talk about the month, about the day, about the month of Elul, and the day 3 of creation countdown. It's really great. That's the next page. But I really encourage you. I mean, if you don't have it, it's a really good tool to have during these 60 days as you're preparing for the High Holy Days. How's that for self-indulgence today? And again, like I said, I'm always encouraging, I use this book today too. I'll just sneak it in. Hebrew for Goyim. This makes me laugh. And this is faith. This is a Messianic version, but it goes through the alphabet. And I do have it as a resource quickly for myself if I want to look up something. Today I used it, which I'll share in a minute. So let's get back to Vayelech. You know, Moshe starts out and it says he's 120. He's like, it starts out, I'm 120. I am 120 years old today, and I'm no longer able to go out and to come in. He's 120. I can't go out, and I'm no longer able to lo'od yasabo, to go in and to go out. Does anyone feel that way? Like, I am just getting to the point where I just can't do what I used to do. I need something. Who feels that way? I'm at a place in my life. I don't quick to go in and out. I can't jump up and go do the things I used to do. I was thinking about this the other day. I remember making fun, forgive me, Lord, of my parents, because I remember asking my mom, hey, what you doing today, Mom? And she'd be like, well, I have a doctor's appointment. I'm like, okay, so what else are you doing? Well, I have a doctor's appointment. Like, she couldn't do more than one thing because she had a doctor's appointment. And I would be like, well, okay, your whole day is just one doctor's appointment. But I'm realizing now at the young, wise cycle of 55 years old that I'm no longer able to come in and go out as I used to. I hurt my foot a while back and I'd been in a boot. I definitely cannot go in and go out as I used to. There's a lot of things, even ministry wise. I mean, remember when you used to be like, oh yeah, I'll work in the nursery. Oh yeah, I'll do this. Oh, you're doing like 35 ministries all at the same time. And now it's just getting to the point where it's like, it's time that maybe you're done. And I don't mean done with ministry, but you're done working the way you used to work, right? Because Moshe's time doesn't end. It goes on for eternity and he continues on. We know that because Yeshua he's transfigured with Yeshua and he's there with him. He continues on to be in the presence of the Holy One. But what his job here was to do was done. And what he had a different job right now. And it was time to hand this over to the next generation to do the thing. I mean, we're told even the Levites, we know that, they had an age. They would be groomed right up until like 30. Then 30, they would actually go into ministry. They would work in their Levitical ministry until they were 50. And then they would step back down. Now, what they ended up, doing is they would be at 50. Of course, now what you're doing is helping to train the younger people as they're going to go into their Levitical, and that you're assigned. There was still a role for them, but they weren't doing the heavy lifting. And I felt like today I needed to speak to someone and let you know it's time to stop doing the heavy lifting, that it's time to hand it over to the next generation to do the heavy lifting. And I felt this really strong in my own life because we hold on to things for so long. Why do we do that? We do it usually because we're afraid. We're afraid no one else can do it like we can do it. It is a control issue. It is truly control. Like, well, nobody else can do it like I do it. Well, that's a problem because shouldn't we be training someone up? He was training Joshua up, showing Joshua how to do things. I'm sure Joshua was like right there all the time, him and Caleb, like, here's how we do things. We're not mentoring the way we're called to mentor. And can we be really, really real here? If you're a leader here today, even for your children, are you training your children up? Do they know how to do things? Can they do their own laundry? Do you need them to be so dependent on you that there's this weird enabling and it's dysfunctional? And it becomes, whether it's your congregation, your ministry, your family, we should be raising up people that they shouldn't need us like that. And I'm going to give you my story. Recently, this is very, very, very close to me right now because it's been a week and a half ago. I was feeling like the Father was telling me to step down from the Rooted Cafe. And you guys all know how much I love this ministry. I started it. I founded it. I felt like I'm all the things. I'm juggling all the parts. And I felt like the Lord was saying, you can't be telling everybody to do this and you're not willing to do it. And I sat down with my husband and I was talking it through with him. And I was like, well, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? And I kept asking myself, what am I afraid of? And I started going through the list and I was honest. I was like courageous moral inventory. Hazak. Be brave and do some courageous moral inventory right now about this topic, whether it's in your home, your work, your ministry, your congregation, whatever. Where are you making everybody need you? Okay, so I'm like, what am I afraid of? And I went through the list. I'm afraid that people will think I'm a quitter. Like, oh, well, it's only 4 years old and you're stepping down. I'm afraid people will say, there are some people who said it would never work. And I'm afraid that they're going to say, see, I told you. I was really afraid of what other people were going to think. I'm afraid it's going to fail if I'm not there to hold it together. I mean, I went through the list after list, and can I just say, I'm going to be really honest with you. I realized, well, I could take everything, and I had a plan if we needed to dissolve it, if there was no one that would be able to step in and take over. I didn't think there was anyone. Nobody could do it as well as I do. Oh, I'm embarrassed. But I was honest. And I came to the spot as, if there is somebody, what if they do it better than me? And what if it makes me look like I didn't know what I was doing? I mean, I had to get real, y'all. I had to get deep real with myself and be willing to say, it's time for it to be past. I've taken this as far as it can go, and it either needs to stop or the next person needs to take it. And I want to tell you, the minute that I said I'm done, and then I reached out to someone who I was talking to about coming in as a board member. I sent my letter of resignation. Oh, I got a phone call while this was going on. And my friend said, I got this weird, God asked me to ask you, what are you afraid of? And that was like, as soon as we hung up, I was writing my letter of resignation to the board. And I just, gave them all a heart attack. And then I called a person who I had been courting to be on the board. Well, her life just changed all around. Before, a very busy woman, very amazing woman. Maybe if you know Robin Bales. And she said, I could do it. She said, I can do it. I can step in. Oh, one of my things was nobody would step in because it's a nonprofit and there's no salary for this position. She says, I don't have to get paid. I know I could step in. And she would be the perfect person to do this. But of course I was like, well, she's too busy. I would never ask her if she's interested, especially and not be paid for it. And she was the one who said, da, 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 da. She's the next generation that needs to take this to the next level. I was so thrilled. And it just took confronting my fears and not being afraid. Can I just say to you, don't be afraid? He's telling you here, don't be afraid. The next verse is, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Why? Because God's going to cross over, it said, with them. And it's not just cross over with them, but even better, he's going to cross over before them. He's going to go before them. And he says, you get to, right now, Moshe, you get to encourage that next generation that they're not going to be alone. Moses, you get to tell them, go, you can do this. Don't be afraid. Can I tell you, you get to encourage that next generation and say, go, don't be afraid. He's going before you. Sadly, in ministry, full raw today, in ministry, I think a lot of times we eat our young. I know that was the case in nursing. I remember, it was awful. It was awful. At least we cripple them. We don't let them step into their calling because they're not super great at it yet. Well, how are you going to get experience and be good at it until you've walked in it? And can I just remind you, you had a first day too. You had a first year too. When you were all on your own and you stepped into whatever you're called to do, even as a mom, you had to learn how to do it too. You had your first day when you messed up all the clothes, and you had a day. Let them start with the towels. It's time that we start getting everyone to grow up. It's a hard word, but it's a true word. And it's our job to enable, we're going to talk about this, enable them to be able to take over the inheritance. And what we're doing instead is everybody's coddled and no one's strong enough to step into the next thing. And then I promise you, no one's getting out of this alive. So you will, eventually not be able to do what you're doing. Eventually, you are going to be like him, and you're going to be lo'od yesabo. You're not going to be able to come and go like you used to, or you're not going to be here at all. That's the truth. Who are you raising up? One of the things that I do when I am doing a leadership workshop, one of the first things I do is I pass out, have everyone a little piece of paper to everyone and a pen, and I ask them, write down the name of the person who will be taking your place. And that's how I start my workshop, whether it's a 1-day workshop or a 3-day workshop. Who is the name of the person who's going to take your place? Can I ask you to do that today? Who's going to take your place? And are you training that person up to be able to step in and not just do it as well as you do, but do it better? Do. Not just do it as well as you do, but actually do it better. How are you equipping the saints, your children, people in your ministry? Are you sending them to places to learn how to do things? If you need someone to be able to be an administrator, are you teaching them how this works? Do you have a little sidekick like your Joshua next to you who's helping you do this? Because I know younger people who are chomping at the bit, but they don't feel like they're not treated like they can be trusted with it. They're treated like you're cute. You can go do this. Well, I'm going to say one of the cool things that we get to do is we start in verse 3. He says, he will destroy them. He will destroy them. He's going to go before you. He's going to go into the land before you, with you, and he will destroy the enemy, the people in front of you. And it says, but you will take possession. So he's going to go before you, he says. And God, it says, Adonai will cross over before you. He will destroy those nations before you, and you will dispossess them. Joshua will cross over before you, just as Adonai had promised. And he keeps on going, Hazak. Okay, so he says, you go ahead, cross over. I am going to destroy the nations before you. I'm going to destroy the hurdle. I'm going to take care of all this stuff. But you will dispossess them. And so I looked at, you will dispossess them. Some of your versions might say, let me know what your verse 3, what does yours say? Does it say destroy them? But he will destroy them, but you will take possession, or you will dispossess them. So I had to look this up. Like, what does this mean? Like, so what does that look like? He's going to go ahead and he's going to destroy everything in front of me, but I still have a partnership in them. I then, once it's destroyed, need to come in and take possession. And that word is yarash. You will take it by force. If you look up that word in the lexicon, yarash is to take something by force. And the first usage, though, is going to kind of put a question mark on this, is in Genesis 15:3. We're going to use our good hermeneutics here. Genesis 15:3, the first usage of this word of take possession, yarash. Abraham is telling God that Eleazar will take possession. Or he's saying Eleazar is going to be the one who gets the inheritance. He's like, God, I don't have anybody. I'm going to have to give this to, Eleazar is going to yarash this. He's going to be the one who has to take over this inheritance and get this inheritance and take this to the next level. He's going to be the one that does this. Isn't that interesting? Because here we're talking about Moses, who's saying now he's raising up Joshua, who's going to come in and help the people, yarash, to come in and take possession and go to the next level. Whoever's hearing this, it's your time to build up those. And you're saying, well, I don't have a daughter or a son who's going to step into this ministry. I don't have someone who's my own seed who can come in and yarash. Maybe you're like Abraham and maybe someone else has to do it. Well, Moses' son did not take over. Joshua was not a relative of Moses. Joshua and Caleb come in and he's handing this over to another generation, and they're not his children. So God comes back and he says to Abraham, no, that Eleazar is not going to yarash, but he will yarosh this to another child. He will have a child. God comes back and says, no, this is not what's happening. So God's going to destroy the enemy. He's going to make provision for you. He's going to make provision he made provision for Joshua and Caleb, right? They will rise up. They may not, you may not see them. You need to start asking for them. Sometimes we don't see them because we're so caught up in the forest, we can't see the trees, right? We're so caught up in doing all the things and keeping the plate spinning and I'm the only one who can do everything and I'm super control freak. You don't want to call yourself that, but it's the truth. You shouldn't be the one. Everyone doesn't need you. That's dysfunctional. So God says, I'm going to go and I'm going to destroy this enemy. And then I'm going to go before you. And then you are going to take the inheritance. In Matthew 11:12, remember Yeshua tells them that the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, but the violent take it by force. And that hyperlinked to me. And I remember during that if you back up into verse 11 verse 10 in Matthew 11, I remember that he's kind of quoting Malachi there. And he says, I'm sending a messenger who's going to prepare your way before you. Okay. And he says, okay, so I'm sitting in that. The kingdom of heaven suffer violence, but the violent take it by force. And I was seeing this as he's telling them, you're going to go in. The kingdom of heaven is going to go in and violently take things over for you. It's going to, greater is he that's in me, that's in the world, but I still have to go in and occupy the world. I still have to go in and I still have to walk out my calling. Even though he's going to be inside of me, the greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world. I'm still going to have to walk it out, even though I know he's going to destroy the enemies before me. And he's telling us even then is heaven is fighting for you. And in Matthew, are you walking in your inheritance? If the violent take it by force, I'm going to go take this by force. I'm going to take my yara, my inheritance. This is your inheritance. What's your inheritance? Do you remember when he says, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, but every tongue that rises against you shall fail. Oh, wait, what does it say? This is your inheritance. It doesn't matter what people are saying about you. It doesn't matter if they're going to say that, oh, you don't know what you're doing. It doesn't matter what the world is saying. It doesn't matter what people are coming at you as far as ministry. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because no weapon formed against you is going to prosper because he's already gone before you and he's going to fight the battle. And every tongue that rises against you will fail because it is your inheritance. So that, not so you can be like, yep, I got no, so that you can build the kingdom. If you go back and the reason for this whole purpose of them going in to occupy and to take over their inheritance is to build a kingdom, to build a place where people will know that his name dwells. Is that what we're doing here now? Is that what we're doing? We jump onto verse 6. He says, he will not fail you. He will not abandon you. It can look really scary when things are all knocked down and he's prepared the way. You know, I'm big on immersion. I want you to sit in this and I want you to look at what this would look like. And maybe you haven't thought of this, but here's my immersion in this verse. If he's gone before me, what does that look like? All right, I feel kind of confident. I know he's before me. Now he's going to destroy all the enemy in front of me. He's going to destroy everything. And then I have to step in and build back. I get to step in and take my inheritance and operate in that calling and build where he's telling me to put my hands to work. What does it look like? I'm immersed in this, so I'm going to sit in this for a minute. If they go, just think the very first town they come to, the first city they come to, and as the walls come tumbling down, as people are killed, it's scary, I think. I'm sitting in this and what does this look like? Can you think about it? When God goes before you and he's annihilated things, what does it look like? Can you smell it? Can you see it? What does it look like around you now? When God goes before you and he's tearing down enemy things, are we rebuking that like it's a demon because it looks messy? It looks messy to us, so we think this can't be God. It can look like destruction and we're rebuking it. It can look like a lot of walls, a lot of work. What does it look like to you when he's just tearing things down so that you could come in and take your inheritance? Because he's going to wipe out everything that's going to have another God, that's going to be bowing a knee to something that's not him. When he comes into your life and your family, he's going to knock it all down, and it can look crazy. And if we could stand there and we can trust and we can tell ourselves, Chazak, take courage. Because he's calling me to step into this, and this is my sphere of influence. This is where I'm to step in. This is where I'm to build. This is where I'm to walk in my calling. This is my inheritance. This is the area that he's trusting me with. Maybe you see your family or your marriage or your work or your ministry, and you watch it, and as he goes in and he wipes out everything because you've prayed that you're going to possess the land, that you want to walk in the things of God. He's like, okay, I hear you, sis. And then it looks like everything's falling apart. Does it get messy sometimes? Absolutely. It gets really messy. And if you're a leader, it's really lonely because everyone's looking at what you're doing and they're like, well, that's not God. But destruction is God. He's showing you he's going to go ahead and he's going to wipe out everything. He's going to destroy the things that are not him. I know for me, I've prayed it's been 25 years ago. I remember praying the prayer, God, if it's not you, I don't want it. I was pastoring a Church of God in Merced, California. And I was praying, God, if it's not you, I don't want it. Father, anything in my life that's religion, anything that man has taught me that isn't even you, would you wipe it all out? I don't want it. Oh my goodness. The destruction was no joke because he answered my prayer. But I ended up having to step away from that church. I ended up, because all of a sudden he brought his calendar alive to me. Nobody told me. It came alive in his word and his feast, his festivals. And I'm like, wait a minute. His word came alive like it never had before. And I started reading words like forever, for all generations. And I'm like, well, why did we stop doing this? And why did we add this? And I start investigating. This is before so much this is dial-up. Dial-up, really like slow internet. I was having to go to the library, look up books, like where did all this come from? And it's falling up. All the religious things were falling away. It was destruction. Have you prayed that prayer? Father, whatever's in my marriage that's not you, whatever's in darkness, would you bring to light? Would you go into this and destroy? You have given me, you said that me and my house would be saved. You have given me authority in this. As a woman, I am the Azer Kenegdo of my home. I'm coming in to do battle, and I'm going to stand here. And if it's not you, I'm ready to take possession. Are you? Because it can get messy. He can start acting crazy. She can start acting crazy. Your finances could look crazy. Things could start being crazy, but will you stand? Will you say, no, I am going to take possession? I'm Yara. I'm going to go in. I'm going to take possession. This is my inheritance. I'm called to this. It can get messy. One of the things I'm loving about, we launch next week. I can't wait. This podcast, Messy Antics, that starts next week. I am thrilled. I am able to interview some of the most amazing people that I know. And they're talking about when things just got messy. Real, honest leaders in this faith saying, this got bad or this got messy, and sharing those things. It has been such a blessing. Quick little podcasts. I will make sure I blast it everywhere so you can show where to find it. I'm trying to get it, make sure it launches on the 20th. Worst case scenario, you'll at least get to see it on my YouTube channel. If you're not a subscriber already, go to I Am Charli Brown. I know it's just hard to find a name and that's not taken in YouTube. So I Am Charli Brown. Please subscribe to my channel because all these teachings I'm doing here, they all go in there. I pull them all over, but I'm going to be putting those podcasts in there. And then I'm at the disposal of like Apple and Google and how long it takes for them to actually publish. We're going to try to make sure they get in by next Wednesday. But I'm just going to tell you, they're quick little ones. You can listen to them. I hope they inspire you. I hope they make you laugh. And I hope they challenge you. Because it's just like in this, you're going to see this. It gets messy. It gets super messy. But he keeps telling us he will not fail or abandon you. No matter how scary it looks, he will not fail you or abandon you. Chazak, take courage. It can leave some unanswered questions. Chazak. And then he calls Joshua in front of everyone. I think this is such a great, beautiful model of leadership for us. He calls them in front of them and he says, I want you to enable them to inherit it. I'm like, wait, what? I'm gonna have to go back to this. Like, okay, let's look. Did I even put the verse down where he says it? Oops, let's go to the right chapter. Yes. So it's in verse 7. He says, he tells him, be strong and courageous again. I mean, over and over, right? He summons Joshua and said to him in the sight of all of Israel, he stands up and he edifies Joshua in front of them. I'm wanting to do a really great job, even when Robin comes in and she's taking over as executive director of the Rooted Cafe. She's amazing. I'm praying that she knows to be strong and courageous because God's going before her and will fight for her as she leads the Rooted Cafe to the next level. She's a phenomenal, phenomenal woman who's going to do great things. And I want to be like this, where I bring up our Joshuas in front of the congregations, in front of people, our children. Are you endorsing your children? Are you telling them how are you tearing them down? Or are you telling them to in front of the other children, in front of their friends? Are you saying, be strong, be courageous, for you are to go in with this people into the land Adonai has sworn to their fathers to give them. And what's his job? And you are to enable them to inherit it. You are to enable them to inherit it. It's your job to enable them to. That word is nahal. And he says, nahal et nahal. Nahal et nahal. Okay. So what he's saying, that Joshua will help walk them through how they're supposed to inherit it. And we were hearing this twice, right? Nahal et nahal. You're going to help them walk. You're going to help them, enable them to inherit. Remember, we talked about to walk in this. This is mentorship. This is leaders stepping up and saying, you're going to step into this. I wrote out some of you, I would love to have you do a word study on this word nahal. And the letters are nun, chet, and lamed. For those of you who want to look up those words and go through that. Just a quick, we talk about nun as a lot of different things. And first, I wrote today, one of the things that I hear today for this letter nun, a lot of us use it, but it's a letter for for fish. But this is what he got. It's the hidden things in the waters. Fish are hidden down in the waters. The hidden things in the waters. The chet, we have to look at that like we now chuppah, this is things that's covering us. When I wrote this from this book, I'll hold it longer. It's Hebrew for Goyim, Bible codes. The chet, I wrote this out of there. It says the enclosed area that hay indwells for action, work, and efforts. That was beautiful to me. We know that the letter hay, such a beautiful place of that revelation, but that window, they look almost the same, but hay has a little opening, and we say it's like a window for revelation to come in. Once it's enclosed, it's the enclosed area. It's that safe place where the enclosed field, it's a place where that hay, that revelation can indwell for action, for work, for the efforts. Okay. And the lamed is direction to me, direction, instruction, like this, the staff of the shepherd. So I saw this thing that he's telling them, I want you to enable them. I want you to nahal them. I want you telling Joshua, I want you to show them in a protected place, the direction and the instructions of those things that are hidden deep in the waters that we're going to move revelation. This is what I want you to do. And again, he says, I'm going before you, and I won't fail you, and I won't abandon you. So don't fear. Don't be discouraged. I was wondering, why are they having to be told this so many times? Well, let's think. Again, can we just do this immersion? You're standing there at the Jordan. You've been in the wilderness for up to 40 years, depending on when you were born. You could maybe be a bit young, or you could be 40 years old. Like there's a up to 40, right? We're standing there. All I know is the life I've lived. Everything has been provided for me. I've been coddled and protected. My shoes didn't wear out. I don't even know how to make or buy. I don't know how to do shoe things because I didn't have to do that, or clothes stuff because I didn't have to do that. I didn't plant and grow things because we didn't have to do that. Our food was prepared for us. I didn't have to do anything. I was very provided and cared for. And now all of a sudden that's all going away. Isn't that a lot like stepping into adulthood? Or also that feeling of standing there and you know you're the next one to take over and to take the inheritance. You're the next one to step in. And God loves that position so much that he's going to continue over and over and over to say, I know this is scary, but I got you. I mean, do you really know that? He never leaves you. He never forsakes you. He's saying to you today, I've got you. I'm calling you to another level where you may feel like it's a free fall, and where you may look around and it looks devastating and just there's destruction, but I'm calling you to step into your inheritance. And I not only need you to leave behind what you're doing and to bring in another person because you've been here too long, to where you're an enabler. You have a codependent relationship with where you've been, and it's time to step out of that codependency. I'm going to go before you. I'm going to keep you. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to guide you. I'm going to keep your arms strong for the task. Sitting in this, what's happening? And I feel like if you're immersing yourself in where they're at and what they're feeling, it's easy to make a tie on maybe where you're at. There's going to be giants. They've heard stories. Now, I mean, I feel like there's probably some whispers around some campfires. Oh gosh, I remember my grandpa and my mom, even before my mom died, because they couldn't come over. They're not alive now. But I remember them overhearing them talking about giants. I remember overhearing them talking about how big the armies are. And I feel like that's happening. There are going to be battles. It's not going to be easy. But he's saying over and over, I'm going to go before you. Yeshua told us the same thing. John 16:33, he says, I have said these things to you, that in me you may have shalom, peace. I've said these things to you so that you would have peace, so you wouldn't be afraid. How many times did he say, fear not, be anxious for nothing? I have said these things to you that in me, in him, not me, you may have peace. Because why? Because in the world, you will have tribulation. Anyone feel that? But take heart. Chazak. I've overcome the world. I've come before you. I've torn down death. I've torn down the enemy. I've destroyed everything. You just have to step into your inheritance and rebuild it. You get to do that. I have said these things to you, that in me, in Yeshua, Pietra, you may have shalom. Because in this world, Pietra, you will have tribulation. But take heart. I have overcome the world for you. Ruth, I've said these things to you, Ruth, that in me, that you may have shalom, because in this world, in your family, in your ministry, you will have tribulation, but take heart. Ruth, I have overcome the world. Linda, he has said these things to you so that in him, in Yeshua, you would have shalom in the midst of chaos, in the midst of all of it, in the middle of all the battles, in the middle of everything. You will have shalom. You will have a place not feeling fractured, not feeling out of sorts and discombobulated. You will have, because you will chazak in the world, this world, your home, your family, your marriage. Linda, you're going to have tribulations. It's going to happen. But chazak. He says, I've already overcome that. I've already overcome it. I'm going to tear it down and go before you. Do all you can do and then stand and watch what I'm going to do. In the shalom that I gave you as a gift at the cross, I gave you a gift. Can you do that? Hey, Mary, he said that these things, they're going to happen to you. But he's telling you right now for you to have shalom. Because in this world, in your family, you're going to have tribulation. It's going to get cray-cray. Things are going to happen. But chazak, take courage, be brave. You don't have to fight this battle by yourself. You just get to go in and build. So stand around and wait for the moment instead of running ahead and trying to fight the battles on your own that he's not telling you to fight. Let's stand and say, Father, how do I build? Show me where my inheritance is in this, how I step into my inheritance. Is that a strange thing that you're going to actually realize, like, wait a minute, you're telling me that you're going to go in to my life, to things around me, to my family. You're going to destroy the things that are not you, the idols that have been set up in my home, in my life, in my heart, in my husband, in my children, in my ministry, in my congregation, in my fellowship, you in my work. You mean you're going to go ahead of me? That's part of my inheritance, is you're going to go in, you're going to destroy all these things. That's an inheritance. And then show me, Father, how to have new eyes to step into this chazak, step into the destruction, step into the tribulation, step into the things that don't, with my eyes, may look cray-cray. Can you give me your eyes and show me how to build? Because I want to be the one that's standing in all of that when it's all tearing down. I don't want to be the one going, it's falling down. I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person that's saying, whoa, she's brave. I want to be the one who has shalom and has her poo-poo together. I want to be the one who's stepping in the courage. I have the armor. I have the armor on. I have a helmet of salvation. I know who I am because I know who has saved me. I know who has called me to reign with him, right? I have a breastplate of righteousness. I am walking with my feet shod in shalom. I'm walking everywhere I go. I am not fragmenting things and making it worse. I'm building because that's my inheritance. And how do I do it? With this sword of truth, because I'm not going to listen to the lies. I'm going to continue to renew my mind and let the sword of truth be the thing that's my weapon, that's going in, that anything that pops up, that I can get rid of it while I build. Like Nehemiah, when the things are all torn down, he goes in, he's fighting with one and he's building with the other, right? Oh, sister, brother, if you're listening, chazak. Don't focus on the rumors of war and the rumors of all the crazy things you're hearing on the radio. No, on the radio, on all the things. That's not what our weapons are not of this world. Those are all talking about worldly stuff going on. That's the crazy. If you're focusing on the crazy, that's not your inheritance. You can't step into crazy and then start trying to build. He says you have to go step into the places that he's prepared and wipe things out. Then you step in and start building. Don't step in the places he hasn't called you to do that to. Step it. Okay, is this the spot? Okay, I see. All right, everyone's laying down dead. And you saw when they tried to fight in their own, they didn't win. But we see, I love in 2 Chronicles, how did they fight? The worship team went out. Even in here, we see the trumpets would blast. The praise team would go out first. That is crazy. That's how we fight. That's because the Lord has already gone before them. And all we're just saying is, thank you, Father. Thank you that you've already gone before me. I'm going to just take a step and go, do I stand? Do I walk? I'm just going to keep in peace because where do I go? That's where we should be instead of listening to all the crazy, because that's not our inheritance. That is not your inheritance. Oh, man. We finished this up when he's talking about the Torah being read every year during Sukkot. Many of you have that as part of your tradition. As it's so beautiful. It's so that everyone could hear it, so that everyone could learn, and so everyone could fear Adonai. Everyone would respect, would know him. Like that fear is like, he's going to kill us. It was so that they would know his heart. That word fear, it's you guys do that study. It's knowing his heart, knowing how much he loves you. And then we see another leadership moment before we close. Moshe is with the Creator, and he's giving up his leadership instructions, right? He's giving him these leadership instructions. He's giving him the who, what, where, why, when, how. And I'm reminded when he's trying to tell him, this is how you're going to finalize the things. This is where you're going to place the instructions. I want you to write this, and you're going to put it next to the ark, which I've already read about that to you. What a cool thing that was. But I'm reminded of Yeshua when he went away and he prayed overnight. He says he prayed all night long, and then he got up the next day and he chose the 12. He got up and chose those who were going to replace him. Those who are going to take the gospel into all the world. Are you doing that? Because we're supposed to make disciples. We're supposed to make those who not only just take what we've done and then multiply it so that the kingdom of heaven is here, and that we take the gospel of heaven, that heaven is here now. God is here now. Yeshua died for them. This is for you right now. This is your inheritance, not to be afraid. Chazak. Are we creating disciples? Because it is your job. And that's what I was reminded of as I close this out. And how do we do it? It requires being in his presence. Yeshua, even the Son of God, God himself coming in the form of man, however you want to, I don't even care. The bottom line is he spent all night in prayer, and prayer isn't just talking. Prayer is sitting and listening for the answers before he made the decision of who takes over next. Maybe you don't know. I don't know who's supposed to take over next. I don't know who I need to train next. Take the leadership moment from Yeshua. Spend all night in prayer. Can require fasting maybe. And then stop talking. Listen. Do you think God's telling Moses about how the people are going to, I think later, I'm going to even leave it at this. I'm going to leave it because we'll talk about that last part again about Moshe's last moments and the prophecy of what's going to happen. How are you leading? Can we end there? How are you leading? Are you leading well? Are you building disciples? Are you encouraging those? Chazak. Or are you on the going, the sky is falling? Are you that person? Like, how are you leading? Are you telling people, fear not? No, he's overcome the world. Can I tell you again? I want to close this with this. Chazak, my friends. Chazak.
זה שיר פשוט, זה שיר קצר, אולי נשמע טיפה מוזר, אבל תדע, כי זו עובדה, שאלוהים אוהב אותך, והוא רואה.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hugi, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.